30,000 soldiers dead in a single day. The Ark of God captured by the enemy. A 98-year-old priest who fell from his chair and broke his neck the moment he heard the news, and a dying woman who named her newborn son No Glory, because the presence of God had left Israel. This is the true story of the darkest day in Israel's history, and the prophet who had to rebuild a nation from the ashes. The Philistines thought they had won. They placed the Ark of Israel's God inside the temple of their own god, Dagon, as a trophy. The next morning, Dagon was on the floor. The morning after that, his head and hands were broken off. Then the plagues began.
The glory has departed from Israel.
But the glory had not departed forever. 20 years later, one man would stand before a terrified nation and call them back to God. And when the enemy came with an army, he would not lift a sword, he would lift a prayer, and the sky would answer. Stay with us until the end, because this story will show you what happens when a nation that lost everything learns that God does not need an army to fight for his people. If you haven't already, subscribe to Ark Films channel. That means the world to us. Let's begin. Samuel was born from a vow. His mother Hannah, a barren woman, promised God that if he gave her a son, she would give him back. God answered, and when the boy was old enough, she brought him to the tabernacle at Shiloh and left him in the care of Eli the priest. Samuel grew up surrounded by Eli's corrupt sons, Hophni and Phinehas. One night, God called his name in the dark and gave him his first prophecy. Judgment was coming on Eli's house, and both sons would die on the same day. From that day, all Israel knew Samuel was a prophet of the Lord. Samuel's word spread through all Israel, but a prophet's voice could not stop what was coming from the west. The Philistines had been pressing into Israelite territory for years. They held the coastal plain, they had iron weapons and chariots, and they controlled the trade route. The Israelites outnumbered them, but numbers meant little when one side had iron swords and the other had farming tools. Israel had no central leader and no standing army. The priesthood at Shiloh was corrupt. Eli was old and blind, and his sons had turned the house of God into a place the people of Israel no longer wanted to visit. When the Philistines massed their forces at Aphek, Israel had no choice but to respond. The army of Israel marched out and camped at Ebenezer, a few miles away. The two armies met on the open field, and Israel was defeated. About 4,000 men fell on the battlefield that day. The survivors returned to camp. The loss was devastating, but it was not the defeat itself that shook the elders. It was the question behind it. They had gone out to fight in the name of the Lord, and the Lord had not saved them.
Why has the Lord defeated us today before the Philistines? Let us bring the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord from Shiloh to us, that it may come among us and save us from the power of our enemies.
They did not ask what they had done wrong. They did not seek the prophet. They treated the Ark of the Covenant, the golden chest that held the stone tablets of the law, the place where God's presence dwelled between the cherubim, as if it were a weapon they could aim at their enemies. They were wrong. The soldiers at the camp sent word to Shiloh, and the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord of Hosts was brought down to the battlefield. Hophni and Phinehas carried it themselves. The two men God had already condemned brought the most sacred object in Israel into a war they would not survive. When the ark arrived at the camp, all Israel raised a shout so loud that the ground shook. The noise carried across the valley to the Philistine camp. They had never heard anything like it.
God has come into the camp. Woe to us, for nothing like this has happened before. Woe to us! Who can deliver us from the power of these mighty gods? These are the gods who struck the Egyptians with every sort of plague in the wilderness.
The Philistines were terrified. They knew the stories of what the God of Israel had done to Egypt, but their commanders refused to let fear win.
Take courage and be men, O Philistines, lest you become slaves to the Hebrew, as they have been to you. Be men and fight.
The Philistines fought, and what happened next was not a defeat. It was a disaster. Israel's army broke and fled. 30,000 foot soldiers fell on the battlefield. The Ark of God was captured, and the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, both died that day just as God had said. The Ark was gone. The priesthood was destroyed, and the boy who had heard God's voice in the night now carried the weight of knowing he had spoken the truth. A man from the tribe of Benjamin ran from the battlefield to Shiloh that same day, his clothes torn and dirt on his head. When he reached the city and told what had happened, the whole city cried out in grief. Eli was 98 years old. His eyes were so weak he could no longer see. He was sitting on a seat by the side of the road, waiting. His heart trembled because the Ark of God was out there, in the hands of his two sons, on a battlefield he could not see. When Eli heard the outcry of the city, he asked what the noise was. The runner came to him.
How did it go, my son?
Israel has fled before the Philistines, and there has been a great defeat among the people. Your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, are dead, and the Ark of God has been captured.
When the man mentioned the ark, Eli fell backward off his seat beside the gate, broke his neck, and died. He had judged Israel for 40 years. His daughter-in-law, the wife of Phinehas, was pregnant and near the time of delivery. When the news reached her, she collapsed and gave birth. The women attending her tried to comfort her, telling her she had given birth to a son, but she did not answer. With her last breath, she named the boy Ichabod, which in Hebrew means no glory.
The glory has departed from Israel, for the Ark of God has been captured.
Then she died. The Philistines carried the ark from the battlefield to Ashdod, one of their 5 major cities, and brought it into the temple of their god Dagon. Dagon was the chief god of the Philistines, a large idol in the shape of a man. They placed the ark right beside him, the way a conqueror displays a captured trophy next to his own throne. When the people of Ashdod came into the temple early the next morning, Dagon had fallen face down on the ground before the ark of the Lord. They picked him up and set him back in his place. The next morning, Dagon had fallen again. But this time it was worse. His head and both his hands had broken off and were lying at the entrance of the temple. Only the trunk of Dagon was left. No one had entered the temple during the night. No army had marched in. No prophet had spoken a word. The God of Israel had not needed a single human being to defend his honor. Dagon, the god the Philistines trusted with their harvests, their wars, and their children, lay in pieces on the floor of his own house. From that day on, the priests of Dagon and everyone who entered his temple at Ashdod would not step on the entrance where their god had been found broken. But Dagon was only the beginning. The hand of the Lord fell heavy on the people of Ashdod. He struck them with tumors, and the city was thrown into panic.
The Ark of the God of Israel must not remain with us. His hand is hard against us and against Dagon our God.
They sent the ark to Gath. The moment it arrived, the Lord struck that city too. Tumors broke out among the people, young and old, and a great panic seized the entire city. They sent it to Ekron. But when the ark entered the city, the people of Ekron saw what had happened to Ashdod and Gath, and they cried out before it even reached the center of town.
They have brought the Ark of the God of Israel around to us to kill us and our people.
The Philistine lords gathered to decide what to do. The ark had destroyed their god, plagued their cities, and spread death wherever it was taken. Every city that received it begged to be rid of it.
Send away the Ark of the God of Israel, and let it return to its own place, that it may not kill us and our people.
The hand of the Lord was against every city that held the ark. Those who did not die were struck with tumors, and the cry of the cities went up to heaven. The ark remained in Philistine territory for 7 months. 7 months of plagues, panic, and death. The nation that had defeated Israel's army could not survive the presence of Israel's God. The question was no longer whether they would send the ark back, but how. After 7 months, the Philistines called for their priests and wise men and asked what to do with the ark.
If you send away the Ark of the God of Israel, do not send it empty, but by all means return him a guilt offering. Then you will be healed, and it will be known to you why his hand does not turn away from you.
Make 5 golden tumors and 5 golden mice, 1 for each of our lords, as a guilt offering to the God of Israel. Now take a new cart and 2 milk cows that had never pulled a cart before. Separate the cows from their calves and place the ark on the cart. If the cows walk straight toward Beth Shemesh in Israel, then it was their God who brought this great disaster upon us. But if not, then it was only chance.
The Philistines did as the priests said. The cows separated from their calves for the first time, crying out as they walked, did not turn back. They did not turn to the right or to the left. They walked straight toward Beth Shemesh, toward Israel. The lords of the Philistines followed them all the way to the border. When the people of Beth Shemesh looked up and saw the ark coming across the wheat field, they rejoiced. They broke up the cart for wood and offered the cows as a burnt offering to the Lord. But then some of the men looked into the ark, and the Lord struck down 70 of them.
Who is able to stand before the Lord, this holy God? And to whom shall he go up away from us?
They sent word to Kiriath Jearim, and the men of that town came and brought the ark to the house of Ebenezer on the hill. They set apart his son Eleazar to guard it. "20 years passed. An entire generation of Israelites grew up without ever seeing the ark, without a functioning priesthood, and without a single victory over the Philistines. Children who were born the year the ark was captured were now adults who had never known anything but defeat and occupation. During those years, Samuel grew from a young prophet into the sole spiritual leader of the nation. No one appointed him. No ceremony marked the transition. He simply became the only voice Israel trusted, the only man who spoke and people believed God was behind the words. Then he addressed all of Israel.
If you are returning to the Lord with all your heart, then put away the foreign gods and the Ashtaroth from among you, and direct your heart to the Lord and serve him only. And he will deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines.
During those 20 years, Israel turned to the gods of the nations around them, the Baals and the Ashtaroth, the idols of fertility and power that promised everything and delivered nothing. Samuel told them to choose those gods or the Lord. They could not have both. And the people listened. They put away the Baals and the Ashtaroth from among them, and they served the Lord only. Samuel called all of Israel to gather at Mizpah.
Gather all Israel at Mizpah, and I will pray to the Lord for you.
They came from every tribe and every corner of the land. When they arrived, they drew water and poured it out on the ground as a sign of complete surrender to God. They fasted, and they confessed together.
We have sinned against the Lord.
Samuel stood before them and judged the people that day at Mizpah. But the Philistines were watching. When they heard that all Israel had gathered in one place, they did not see a prayer meeting. They saw a military assembly. The lords of the Philistines mobilized their army and marched toward Mizpah. When the Israelites heard the Philistine army was coming, they were terrified. They had come to pray, not to fight.
Do not cease to cry out to the Lord our God for us,
that he may save us from the hand of the Philistines.
Samuel took a young lamb and offered it as a whole burnt offering to the Lord. And while the smoke rose and the Philistine army drew closer, Samuel cried out to the Lord on behalf of Israel. While Samuel was still offering the sacrifice, the Philistines reached Mizpah and prepared to attack. The people of Israel had no time to form ranks, no time to arm themselves. The Philistines had every advantage. But that day, the Lord thundered with a mighty sound against the Philistines. The sky broke open, and the noise that came from heaven was so powerful that the Philistine soldiers were thrown into confusion. They could not hold their lines. They could not see clearly. They turned and ran. The men of Israel came out of Mizpah and chased them down. They pursued the Philistines and struck them all the way from Mizpah to below Beth-kar. No general had organized the attack. No battle plan had been drawn. Samuel had not lifted a sword. He had lifted a prayer, and God had answered with thunder. When the battle was over, Samuel took a stone and set it up between Mizpah and Shen. He gave it a name.
Thus far, the Lord has helped us.
He called the stone Ebenezer, the same name as the place where Israel had been destroyed 20 years earlier, where 30,000 men had died and the ark had been captured. The first Ebenezer was a place of defeat. This one was a place of rescue. Same ground, same enemy, But this time Israel had come with prayer instead of a trophy, and God had fought for them. After the battle at Mizpah, the Philistines were subdued. They did not enter the territory of Israel again. The cities they had taken were restored, from Ekron to Gath, and there was peace between Israel and the Amorites. Samuel traveled a circuit through the land year after year, stopping at Bethel, Gilgal, and Mizpah. In each place he settled disputes, gave counsel, and spoke on behalf of God. Then he would return home to Ramah, where he built an altar to the Lord. The years passed. Samuel grew old, and when the weight of leading the nation became too much for one man, he appointed his 2 sons, Joel and Abijah, as judges in Beersheba to help carry the load. But his sons did not walk in his ways. They turned aside after dishonest gain. They took bribes. They twisted justice. The man who had spent his entire life serving Israel with clean hands now watched his own children corrupt the very office he had given them. Word of what Joel and Abijah were doing spread through the land. The elders of Israel saw it. They remembered what had happened the last time corrupt men held sacred positions. They remembered Hophni and Phinehas, and they began to talk among themselves about a different kind of solution. They did not want another judge. They did not want another prophet's sons. They wanted what every other nation had. They wanted a king. This episode carries lessons that go far beyond ancient Israel. The first is about misplaced trust. Israel carried the ark into battle, believing that God's presence was something they could control. They treated it like a lucky charm, something that would force God to act on their behalf. It did not work. God is not a tool. He does not serve the plans of those who carry his name without carrying his heart. If you have ever tried to use faith as a strategy instead of a surrender, this story was written for you. The second is about what God does when no one is watching. The ark sat in a Philistine temple overnight, with no army, no priest, and no prophet nearby, and by morning, the most powerful god in Philistia was face down on the floor. God does not need you to defend him. He does not need your platform, your influence, or your strength. When the time comes, he acts alone. The third is about the power of one voice. For 20 years, Israel had no ark, no priesthood, and no victories. But they had Samuel, one man who never stopped speaking the truth, who never stopped praying, who never stopped believing that God would show up. And when Samuel finally called the nation together, his prayer brought thunder from the sky. Never underestimate what one faithful voice can do in a generation that has lost its way. And the last is this. The same place can hold your worst defeat and your greatest victory. Ebenezer was where Israel lost 30,000 men and the ark. Ebenezer was also where God thundered from heaven and saved them. The difference was not the location. It was what they brought with them. The first time, they brought a trophy. The second time, they brought repentance. Samuel has saved the nation, but his own sons have already begun to fail him. And the elders of Israel are about to come to him with a demand that will break his heart. Give us a king. If you want to see what happens when the prophet who saved Israel is asked to crown the man who will replace him, watch the story of Samuel III. It's right here on screen. Subscribe to Ark Films channel. That means the world to us. And tell us in the comments, what Bible story should we cover next?